Ave strategos, I'm Pericles and welcome back to another temple guide. As you know, this is a Friday again and we are usually posting videos about the temple guides in each episode about the different factions temple guides. So last episode, basically last week episode was about the Parthian temples, actually temple, since they had the only temple choice. And I say that the Parthians are the beginning of the Eastern cultured factions temple guide. So I'm either going to continue with Armenia or the Pontus. So I decided to go with their neighbors, Armenians. And right after this episode for next week, the topic going to be the Pontus now. So let's not waste the time and start our guide. So unlike like the Parthians, the Armenians has three options, and they have three different kind of temples, and we will go over one by one about each of them. I'll try to get you all a detailed guide. Basically, what's that about? If you haven't watched any of these episodes before, any of these guides before, we are basically talking about the temples themselves, like in each tier, their bonuses. Are they any good? Are they basically can keep up with the growth of the settlement? Also, in which situation, in which condition, which temple works the best, and also, additionally, we're talking about the bonuses, the traits, the followers that they might unlock for you. Pretty detailed guide. So I will hope that it will be any kind of use for you. So let's start. So Armenians has three options, as we already mentioned. The first one is Vahagan, another one is Anahit, and the last one is Armazd. So I'll go one by one. How we do over here, we go with the first three, then we'll jump to the others, and we'll start with Wahagan. So Wahagan is in the game files. It is called the Temple of Battleforge, Temple of Forging, and the Wahagan Shrine in the first tier building is a shrine, and the shrine to Wahagan grants us 5% public order bonus due to happiness and +1 experience bonus to troops which gonna be trained here. So the temples are mostly for keeping the public order basically stable. You building the temple for making your settlement happy, for not letting them riot, or keeping the public order above 65%, because you know if it's 65 and below they start rioting. And over here we're getting 5%, so it's not a great basically start as a public order bonus, but experience bonus to troops is actually a great bonus. At least I do consider it as a great bonus. Some of you might not agree with my idea, because I feel like having a freshly trained unit, having a plus experience on it, which +1 experience means they're gonna have basically, let's check this over here. They're gonna have +1 stat in each basically point. Their melee attack, missile attack, their defense gonna be higher. So let's just compare. I think for example, this guy over here is 10 13 13, and let's see how about him. Yeah, I think his units shouldn't be the same. Morale stays the same. Melee attack is less than basically what he had, and their defense is 15 and 4 shield 5 charge, and his defense is 16 4 shield 5 charge. So basically he has like experience point gets us the extra melee and missile attack, also extra defense. So, and this is very easy to get. Like, you are just, it takes only one turn and 400 gold, and as early as in the first stage, like right at the beginning of your campaign, what you can do, you can build this temple in any settlement. Let's say you just open the brand new campaign, you can build this temple in any of your settlements, and let's say you're gonna have a lot, like some starting armies. Get them all over there. Get them just retrained. It will take 1 or 2 turns, and then send them to the war. Actually, if you're gonna build them in the large town, let's say if you're gonna build them in Atahata, which is gonna let you build the second tier as well, it's gonna take 3 turns to build both of them. 1 turn for this and 2 turns for this, and you're gonna get basically another light weapon upgrade bonus. So I'll come to that. But before jumping to the second tier, there's one trait I would like to mention. So we talked about the building itself. The bonus is pretty decent, I would say. Not super public order focused, but little bit public order and little bit military, like aggressive playstyle focused. This will also gonna be handy if you will be playing defensive. Like experience works in every way. So there's the building this shrine also unlocks you one trait, which is it's a devotion. So we've talked a lot about the devotions in previous episodes, previous basically videos of the temple guides in other factions. So each temple has its own unique devotion. How does it work? So we said we have 3 different temples. I'll go to their devotions as well. The devotions are for the merchants. So I want you guys not ignore this trait over here. This is not something related to our temple guide. I just can't. I'm using, by the way, console commands in this guide. So, for example, for the basically the family members, for building buildings and stuff, adding money and stuff. So I don't want to deal with the regular gameplay, since it is for the kind of there's a teaching point in here, so we don't play in here. So the only thing, I can't use the console commands for getting rid of these merchant traits. If anyone knows, I've asked a couple times before too, if anyone knows how to deal with them, just please let me know. I would love to know how to deal with these merchants in the console commands. But yeah, we just ignore this natural born merchant. We'll talk about this devotion here. So how this devotions works. So we say the Vahagan is a battle forge, is a forging temple, right? That's how it goes in the game files. So your merchant gonna have the devotion to ideology that's related with your temple, which is forging. As you see, there's a devotion to forging. Gives you +1 finance actually to your merchant, +1 finance when he trades iron, and -1 when he trades precious minerals. So I'm not gonna go into the use of it. Maybe in the future I'll make another guide about the trading merchants and stuff, and we can talk about which is more useful, which is less. But just as you know, that is what your merchant gets, and how he gets that. So you have to have Shrine to Vahagan, or at least Shrine to Vahagan, or the tiers above it. Like you can upgrade it to the temple level or large temple level, whatever, but you have to have the first tier at least. And then you have to have a merchant which ends the turn in the settlement that you built this shrine. So in this case, I built the shrine to Vahagan. Actually, I already built a large temple of Vahagan here. I have a Vahagan temple in the Kotais, and I have a merchant in Kotais. So he ended the turn in this settlement, and next turn, with 100% of chance, he will get this trade. But also he should have no other devotion. So one merchant cannot have more than one devotion. If he has already devotion to another ideology, another temple, he can't have the forging temple devotion at the same time. So that's the condition. Also, if you don't have any merchants, what you can do, if you've already built again any temple of Vahagan, at least the first year, and if you freshly recruiting a merchant in this town, in this settlement, you will get, as soon as your merchant is being recruited, you're gonna get this devotion with 100% again. So either you just recruit with the settlement that has already any Vahagan temple, or you just move your already recruited merchant to here and let him end the turn, just one turn, and next turn he will have it. So that's it about the first tier. Let's jump to the second tier here. At the second tier, we have a Temple of Vahagan, 10% public order bonus. We've gone up from 5 to 10. We're keeping the experience, and we have +1 light weapon upgrade. So a light weapon means not all the units will get benefited from it, but pretty much all the early units should get benefited from it. I'm gonna see that, can we, for example, the hillmen or the eastern infantry, both of them should be able to benefit from it. I'm not so sure about the heavy spearmen will do or not, but for example, Armenian legionnaires, they are heavy infantry, they are not gonna get benefited from it. And I'm not so sure. I think these guys are missiles, and these guys are also missiles. So your early spearmen will get benefited from it. So that's why the reason I say if you gonna build the second tier, you can wait another turn for upgrading the light weapons, and then you can send them to the campaign, which is your army already starts stronger than it was, and it's gonna make the things easier for you. They're gonna fight better, they're gonna die harder, and so on. And let's talk about the which kind of basically traits and followers this temple in the second tier opens for us. So now we're gonna jump to the to our family member. So as you already know, faction here, it's not related something to our temple guide. I already cleaned everything unnecessary, all the followers and traits. This is the only thing I can take it off, since someone should have to be a faction here. So I will talk about this one here, Untouched by Fear. In the game files, it goes as a brave, and in the first tier, brave 1. So gives us +1 morale for all troops on the battlefield. I think that's very huge. We've seen, and this bonus, not exactly Untouched by Fear, but morale bonus, a couple times before in our guide as well. I'm always talking very highly about that trait, because at least I feel like morale is a very important factor in the battlefield. I do fight my 95% of my battles manually, and I don't play with the arcade mode on, so morale determines how difficult is gonna be for enemy to break your units. So your units having like basically more the higher morale is, the much more difficult the units can get break. So you know, if you've played with the general cavalry, they pretty much never get broken. You know, they're only getting broke when they only starts to run away when they have like already like 10-15 men, very low on numbers. But if you have peasants, for example, you just killing 20 of them and they start to run away. So because their morale is 0 and the general's morale is 10, so the higher morale is much better and very important. But there's a catch a thing about it. So how you can get this one? So how you can get this one is you have to have the Temple of Vahagan, which is, we said, it is the second tier. You have to have at least second tier Temple of Vahagan, or the tiers above but not below. You have to have at least second tier, and you have to have a family member, general, faction heir, faction leader, whatever, however you want to call. You have someone to end the turn in that settlement which you've built the Temple of Vahagan. We said it exactly works like the devotion for the merchant, but we said the merchant with 100% chance next turn gonna get that devotion, but this trait is, you can only get it with 15% of chance, so it's much less than devotion, but still not very bad percentage. You're gonna see that a lot of traits are around like 5, 10, 15%, some of them 20, but we mostly see 10, 15, so it's not very bad. And sooner or later, if you will keep your family member long enough in the settlement with Temple of Vahagan, he's gonna get this trait. And let's talk about the follower, Priest of Vahagan. So all the temples has its own unique priest and priestesses. In this case, in the Vahagan case, it's a priest of Vahagan. Gives us +1 command and 10% discount on unit training costs. So works exactly same way that all the devotion and this brave, the untouched by fear trait we've talked about. Again, 15% of chance, exact same with this trait and exact same conditions. Let's talk about the trait itself. For me, is not a very how can I say, exciting follower, very exciting priest to see. We've already talked about a lot of priests in all the factions. Every faction has like pretty much 3-4 different kind of temples, and every temple has its own unique priest. I can say this is one of the low tier ones for me, because gives me command and discount on unit training costs. So discount doesn't work for me except at the early 10-15 turns. Yes, the discount might be somehow important for me in the early, as I said, like the first 10 turns, since I'm having a starving with money. But once I start to expand, I'm never gonna have money problem anymore. And then this discount is kind of overkill. I mean, if you have a, let's say you're at the turn 30, 40, whatever, you're in the middle of your campaign. If you have more than 50,000 dinars sitting in your treasury, what's the point of having 10% of discount on unit training costs? This doesn't sit with me so right. And the command is only useful if you auto-resolve your battle. So since I've already mentioned that I'm usually fighting my battles manually, a very big percentage of them, I am rarely using command. And if you don't know how the command does work with the auto-resolve, let's say you have two generals with the exact same army, and they're fighting against the exact same army. The general with the higher command point gonna inflict more damage to the enemy units and gonna get less casualty on his side. So basically, if you have higher command, the AI fights the battle better for you, and you are being more advantageous, and like so on. So, but if you fight manually, there's the zero basically advantage of having a command point. So let's jump to the third tier now. Over here, our bonus goes up to 15% on public order from 10%. We are keeping the light weapon upgrade, but we have +2 experience now. So getting to the third tier is not very difficult. Maybe not a lot of settlements start with the minor city, but a lot of them starts with large town, and getting 6,000 population cap is pretty easy actually. I think you're gonna have at least 1 or 2 settlements, so actually I can say maybe more, before like turn 25, which they're gonna be the minor city. So it is not difficultly accessible, so you can get this +2 experience point, and it is decent for its level, I would say. Unfortunately, the only downside so far we've seen is a little bit less basically public order bonus it grants, but the military wise, it gives us pretty decent buffs so far. And there is no trait or follower specifically requires the third tier or above. So all the traits and followers that requires at most the second tier. So now let's jump to the fourth tier, Awesome Temple of Vahagan. 20% public order bonus. We're keeping the light weapon upgrade, and we're keeping the experience +2 on the troops, and we have upgrade on armor as well. So another military buff, and this will help our, and the armor is unlike to the light weapons. It doesn't apply for the specific troops. It applies to all troops. Your missiles, your like archers, horse archers, your heavy cavalry, light cavalry if you have one, military like foot troops like spearmen, light infantry, heavy infantry, all of them gonna benefit from the armor. So this is more like global upgrade, and this is more like niche upgrade, I would say. So overall, that's it about the Vahagan. We've seen that in some factions we have the pantheon levels, like the Greek cultured factions, they had pantheons. The Romans, they had pantheons. I think the Carthaginian and Numidians, they didn't have the pantheon levels as well. They had the fourth tier at most. This basically Vahagan temple had all the actual Armenian temples had the fourth tier max cap. So overall about these three, I wouldn't prefer this temple line basically for dealing with the public order issues. If you have a settlement which is far from your capital and which you're dealing with the riots and stuff over there, then I wouldn't build the Vahagan. Let's go and see and what kind of other options we have. Maybe one of them might suit better. I think I maybe come back to the summarizing all the temples one by one at the end. So let's jump to the Anahit now. I think I built the Anahit temple at our capital. Yep, perfect, here. So Shrine to Anahit. We said Vahagan is a battle forge, forging temple. Anahit is a temple of fun. And I know there's some folks that has been following us for a bit already. And thanks for those people, by the way. We've already talked about Temple of Fun in a couple different factions before, which we've already made a video about those. If you haven't checked them yet, you can just click to the temple guide playlist and you're gonna see all the other factions that we've already talked about. We will be keep posting every week. So Anahit is the Armenian temple of fun. So Juliae Romans also had a temple of fun, and their temple name is the Bacchus. And we've already talked about Temple of Fun with Thracians and Seleucids, which they were sharing the same temple, Dionysus. So we've already a couple times talked about the Temple of Fun before, but since the Armenians has it, I'll talk once more. If you've listened this, that's repeat for you. And most of the traits and followers you're gonna see might be exact same. There might be some little differences. I already, to be honest, forgot about those bonuses, but let's go once more. It never hurts to refresh your memories. So Shrine to Anahit. At the first tier, we're getting 10% of public order bonus due to happiness. So such a solid start for public order focused temple with 10% public order bonus and nothing else. So this temple says that, all right, I'm here to fix your rioting issues. I'm here to keep your people happy, which is great start to have. And there's not too much to talk about the shrine itself, but there's devotion that I want to talk about first of all, which is a devotion to fun. Again, don't mind this at the first place. So devotion to fun, exact same way with the other devotion, with 100% of chance you might get it if your merchant is sitting in a settlement which you have any kind of Anahit temple. +1 finance for wine, +1 for fabric and dye, -1 for the grain, and suit that to your gameplay, and that's what you can get from the Anahit temple. And there is one follower I want to talk about, which requires shrine to Anahit. Not anything you can just have as early as the first tier, is a cook. So this cook works with exact same conditions as other traits or followers we've talked already before. Has only unfortunately 10% of chance for your family member to be able to get it, and it only requires the first tier. If you have third, like second, third, fourth tier, you still can get it, but you don't have to necessarily build upper tiers. If you have the first tier, you still can get it. So let's see what it gets to us. +1 personal security. And what is personal security? It is basically, let's say you have a family member with high personal security. It means the enemy assassination attempts is gonna more likely fail. The higher your personal security, the more difficult for the enemy assassins to take down your family member. And how important it is, I mean, not super important if you ask me. I think you don't suffer from the assassinations in the Rome Total War a lot. I always say that is more useful thing in medieval Total War, because at least in my playthroughs I feel like in medieval Total War personal security is more important thing to have. I never suffer from assassination attempt, to be honest, so it never hurts to have it. But as you already know, if it's a trait, that doesn't matter. You can have as many traits as you can, but the followers, you have the cap of 8. You can't have more than 8 followers. And if I do have the better followers, I'm not keeping this guy here. I think it's not useful for me. So the good thing about the followers, you can use this button over here. You can move the followers around. If you're playing the non-remastered version, the original ROM version, then I think just click and hold on the picture of the follower, and I think you can move to someone else. And but there's a way with the original ROM Total War to move the followers as well. So that's it about the first tier. Let's jump to the second one. In second one, we got 20% public order bonus due to happiness. We had 20% public order bonus at the fourth tier in the Vahagan building, but with Anahit we had as early as the second tier, and very easy to get to this building, very accessible. Pretty much all of your settlements gonna be able to insta build this Anahit temple, because most of the settlements in the game starts with already large town or above. There's a couple of them only starts with town, like Fraspa here, for example. But yeah, very easy, very accessible to get. It doesn't take too many turns to build, not super expensive, grants us huge public order buff, a very solid temple to have. And now let's talk about the traits and followers here, which requires Temple of Anahit at least, or the tiers above. So the first one is a social drinker. In the game files, it said drink 1 and has 10% of chance with the exact same conditions we've mentioned before. You have to have a family member ending the turn in the settlement, which you've already have a Temple of Anahit or the tiers above built. Gives us +1 command. Doesn't hurt to have, but not something super exciting. Another trait here is likes a flutter. In the game file, it goes under gambling 1, also 10% of chance, exact same conditions, but this is a debuff. That's a negative trait. 5% penalty on all trade income and 10% decrease to cost to bribe. So don't let this on all trade income fool you. It's not as bad as you think. If you have a 5% penalty income, it only applies to this settlement. I mean, where your family member is. If your family member with the penalty on trade is Artahata, you're not gonna suffer from it in Kotais or any other settlement. And 10% decrease to cost to bribe. This is not very important neither, because anyways, that works like this. The money, when let's say the opponent diplomat try to buy your family member, try to bribe one of your family members, the money they're paying, it doesn't being added to your treasury, so you don't get that money. So if it's cheap, you don't care. If it's 500% more expensive, you don't care. I feel like I don't know how the AI money controlling works. I feel like AI is printing money, so I don't think so they're ever having money difficulties, but I might be wrong. I'm not so knowledgeable on that side, that how the AI is handling their finances, but I feel like they always have money, and doesn't matter it's 10% less or 10% more. If they want to bribe, they're gonna bribe. And penalty income, I mean, both of them, as I said, is a negative trade. It's a debuff, but it is not a debuff that kind of hurts me. For example, this guy over here is a debuff as well, but that hurts me a lot. -1 influence. The whimsical nature is under the game files. It goes under the Joker 1 trait. Unfortunately, this debuff is much more damaging to your gameplay than these two. Why? Because the influence, um, probably one of the best, if it's positive influence, one of the best. If it's negative, one of the worst buffs or debuffs you can get. The why, there's a lot of reasons I've already talked about a couple times before. I'm gonna mention them once more time because it affects a couple of things directly. For example, if you'll go to your settlement details, oh no, I'm sorry, I think, where was it? So this guy doesn't have any, but I think he has. Alright, he has one influence. Since he doesn't have any influence points, we don't see it here, but let's jump over here. He has at least one influence point. The higher your influence point is, you can go from the settlement details for this page. The higher your governance influence is, the more public ordered bonus you will get. So it's 5% for one influence point. If you have 10 influence, you're gonna have just 50% of public order bonus from having influence. So influence is very important. And rather than that, it also determines how many bodyguard cavalry your family member has. The higher influence, the more cavalry. The less influence, the less cavalry. So he should have a 90, for example. Let's see how much he should have. He's 0. He should have 65. But also this guy is the faction heir, so that's why he has a bit more. But let me see him. He has 1. Alright, I think whatever. But the only thing I know, I couldn't figure that one out now. But the only thing I know is the higher your influence point, the more bodyguard cavalry you will have. And on top of that, it basically, when you negotiate, when your family member with high influence point negotiate with the rival diplomats, he's gonna make them to accept your deal, your negotiation terms, more likely compared with the guy who has less influence points. So it's a very important basically stat to have, and when it's minus even 1, it hurts a lot. But fortunately, for getting this trait, you have only 2% of chance it might happen. So that's great. That's kind of relief that in the 98% of situation you won't get it. But if you have a governor that's sitting in a settlement, I believe sooner or later he might get it, but fortunately much more less chance. The another trait I want to talk about is a casual adulterer. Is a girl's one trait in the game files, has 5% of chance to be triggered for your family member. And look at that, +2 morale. Very good, very great bonus, and very important bonus to have. So +2 morale is great to have. So I can't talk enough about how important it is. And you can check our Greek cities campaign videos. There's a couple important heroic battles that we fought and we won just because of maintaining our morale higher, keeping our morale higher, and using the enemy's less morale and less fatigue stats, and that won us quite a bit battles, quite important battles. So this is very great trait to have, and it gives us +2. I think we've seen +1 morale here. This is even itself is great, but +2 is just huge. So I've mentioned that a couple times. If I have to, maybe I'm gonna make a video actually about this. If I'm gonna have to make a tier list about all the stats in the game, definitely influence and the morale is going to the very top, like S tier. Probably these two, and everything else is under them. And probably I'm gonna make a video about those. I can't promise now when, but that's actually a good idea. It can be a good content for the pupil to see, and then I don't have to basically repeat myself in each episode. I can just point that video. You guys can go ahead and check that out, because I don't want anyone to basically lose this knowledge. Yes, I did mention them in the previous videos. I don't want to go ahead and check this video and stuff. And also I don't want to repeat myself, but at the same time I want to understand that why I consider this important. So I think I'm gonna make a separate video for it. So, and the last trait I'm gonna talk about here is immoral, -1 influence again, and one of the traits that hurts us, with 5% of chance again that your family member can get it. And that's pretty much it about the second tier, the Anahit building, Temple of Anahit building, about the traits. Now let's jump to the followers. All these 3 followers we were talking about cook is also requires the Temple of Anahit and the tiers above. If you have the only first tier, you're not gonna be able to get any of those traits and followers we've already talked about, except cook. So let's talk about comedian. Another +1 morale for all troops on the battlefield, another huge buff. And even this guy has 2%, +2. This has specific advantage. Since it's follower, you can move this one around of your family members. So this is actually handy for you. Why? Because let's say you've built this temple and you have a governor. 1 or 2 people sitting in your settlement for governor or garrison, whatever, for some reason. And you have like maybe 2 or 3 generals fighting. One is fighting against Parthians, another one fighting with Pontus, one is Seleucids. So if any of them, any of your governors who sits in the settlement gets this trait, you better move this follower to your fighting generals, because the governors gonna need it if they will fight a defensive battle. But if they are safe and there's no sieges laid on your settlement, then let the guys in the front have it, because you're gonna get benefited from it a lot. Unfortunately, you can't transfer the traits, but you can transfer this guy. You can move it around, so it is great to have. And also, we said this has 5% of chance to be triggered. This has 8, so more likely you will get comedian. The drinking companion, +1 influence and -1 command. Gives something, takes something, gives something valuable, takes something useless in my opinion. So I feel like it's a good follower to have. But there's a tiny pickle about it for getting this trait. How does it work? It has 7% of chance and exact same conditions we've talked before, but there's +1 more condition, which is your family member should also have drink 2 trait, which we said social drinker is the first tier drink trait. And how this trading works, if you have the family member with like drink 1, which is social drinker, by the time he turns to drink 2, drink 3, and the stats change as well. I added the drink 2 trait in here to my faction leader. So this is the drink 2, likes a drink, takes 1 management point from us. And of course, like, you're losing the social drinker trait because you're not having both of them at the same time. So let's see, you have 7% of chance for getting these with the conditions that you have to have a drink 2, also all the other conditions we've mentioned, which is you have to have Temple of Anahit, you have to have a family member ending the turn in the settlement, and your family member should have drink 2. Then you have 7% of chance to be able to get this guy. Pretty difficult to get it. So as I said, +1 command is not important to have. I don't mind losing that trait. -1 management hurts. Management is good. I like to have a management. It's difficult to keep it up. It is easier to get the influence up, because once you fight, you get in conqueror trait, blah blah blah. It's getting higher faster, but management is difficult to get it higher, and is easy to lose. So -1 management, it hurts. And if you'll ask what the management works for, your governor governs the settlement better, controls the settlement better. More management point you have, the more income your settlement produces, and basically the less management point you have, the less income it gives as a bonus, and so on. So Influence is good, losing command points is fine, losing management it kind of hurts. So I mean, it's overall is okay. Not something super good, not very bad neither. I mean, it's fine to have. So let's talk about the priest now. The priest, as we already talked about, all the priests have 15% of chance in every, not only in the Armenians, in all faction priests has 15% of chance for your family members to be able to get it. And priest of Anahit gives us +1 influence, +1 management. Much better priest compares with the Vahagan. Since influence is very important, management is pretty important, so both of these traits is very important traits to have. So I do like to see this kind of priests, and I would put this priest probably in a solid high tier priest basically scale. So it's a very decent priest to have. So that's all. Not there's actually not that's not all. We have two more followers. Actually comes with Temple of Anahit, which is they are courtesan and dancer. Both of them has 15% of chance for your spy or assassin. I don't have an assassin. I didn't recruit an assassin, but either spy or assassin, both of those two roles can get these folks, and they work exactly the same way. You have to have at least Temple of Anahit or tiers above, and your spy or assassin should end the turn in a settlement which you've built this temple. And with 15% of chance you might get those traits, and it gives 1 agent skill and 2 agent skill, which is if it's your spy, they're gonna basically seize to the enemy settlements easier with a higher chance. I also believe they're gonna have more chance to open the gates for you if they're in the settlement already and you're sieging the settlement. So in sometimes it might earn you a turn or two for so you can avoid building siege equipment. For the assassin, the higher agent skill means the more likely his assassination attempt will be succeed. So useful as well, depends on how you are using it. I do use agents quite a bit in my gameplay, so it is useful traits to have. And now let's talk about the third and fourth tier of Anahit building. 30% public order here, 40% here. Just only solely focused on the public order, and overall pretty great branch to have. And last temple we will talk about today is Armast. And Armast is the last option for Armenians, and it's a temple of leadership. We've also seen the leadership temple in different basically factions before. We've seen it with Julii. They have a temple of Jupiter, the Jupiter temple. It's also leadership temple. And we have Greek cities faction with Athena temple. Athena also is a leadership temple for Greek cities. And we have Armast for Armenians. So what does it give to us? 5% public order bonus due to happiness, 5% due to law. So overall, both of them is a public order bonus. I don't think so it's any different than Anahit first tier, 10% public order bonus in both of them. And the one gives only from the happiness side, and the other one is kind of divides little law, little happiness. So it's a pretty solid start as well. And let's talk about its merchant devotion. The leadership devotion, +1 finance for slaves when you trade slaves, -1 when not trading slaves. I've mentioned that a couple times previously. I do find this kind of devotion quite useful compared with the others like +1 on wine or +1 when you do iron or stuff. Slaves is kind of more useful for me. Why? Because you don't have, let's say, wine in every settlement. You don't have gold in every settlement. But once you grow up and once you start, let's say, here's your capital, right? Once you over here already, you have quite a bit distance from your capital. You're gonna start having public order issues when you capture the settlements, and especially settlements here, they are pretty populated. So you don't want to just occupy the settlement because they're gonna be rioting, or you don't want to exterminate them because it is gonna make those settlements suffer a lot, and it's gonna take too many turns for them to reestablish themselves. So what you do, you enslave most of them. So you don't lose those population. You take half of, let's say if you have 10,000 population in Jerusalem when you capture, or 15,000, 7,500 of them will stay in the settlement. Another 7,500 will be divided among your rest of your settlements, and you're gonna have slaves in that settlement. So after one point, once you grow up a bit, you just enslave every settlement you conquer, basically, and you're having slaves everywhere. So that's why I'm saying having +1 finance on the slaves is more useful, because you don't have to look for a settlement which has a gold. The Kotais has gold, but there's another gold is somewhere over here, for example. So but the slave you're gonna have pretty much everywhere after one point in the game. So that's why I feel like it's has more broad use. And let's talk about the basically second tier of Temple of Armors now. So on the temple level, we have 20% public order bonus. Again, it's divided 10%, 10% by law and happiness side. And let's talk about the trait over here. I forgot to add a follower. I will just do right in front of you. I'm gonna use a console command real quick. On the Armas, we have two traits that we will be talking about, that which requires at least a Temple of Armas, like, which means the second tier, or you can have above but not below. The first one is Understanding of Strategy, which is strategic skill 1. That's how it goes under the game files, and you have 10% of chance at the end of each turn to be able to get it, and exact same 10% of chance for this trade over here, the no enemies, and in the game files it goes under Trusting 1. So this guy over here gets us +1 command, which is it's okay, not super important. This one gives us +1 influence, but takes -1 from personal security, so I don't mind. You can actually, in return of influence, even -1 and -5 personal security, I think gonna be okay for me, because I feel like influence is much more important than the personal security. So both of them 10% of chance, and both of them requires the Temple of Armas, and completely exact same conditions and stuff. And let's talk about the priest over here. Priest of Armas is influence +1, command +1. So not a bad. Influence itself makes it pretty valuable already, and it has a little bit kind of the side dish over here as a command. It of course stays under the shadow of the main dish, which is influence here, but doesn't hurt to have. So as a priest itself, I would say it is above average, not as good as I would say the Anahit priest, since the management is much more valuable in my opinion than command. But overall is not bad, because it has influence point, and it has 15% of chance like other all priests. Now let's jump to the upper tiers. That's all the traits and followers we've already talked about. We're not gonna see any more that requires the higher tier religious buildings. A large temple, 30% bonus, and awesome temple, 40% of bonus. So overall, Armast is focused on basically public order solely as well, as a building wise, as a temple wise. Now among these three, which one is the best? Which one I should build, or in where I should build? I think the right question is in which condition you should build which one. So these two temples like the Anahit and Armazd is very similar to each other as a purpose wise, because they both offers high public order. So you're gonna choose probably one of them, like which has better. So in my opinion, I would go probably with Anahit. Why? Because you're getting exact same public order bonuses with Armazd, uh, but I feel like overall you have better traits and followers that the temple grants you. You have couple bad ones too, I agree, but the follower, the basically the comedian, the priest, they are very good to have. And there's some minuses here again, with 2% of chance, with 5% of chance. But I mean, overall, I think this is kind of risky. The Anahit is kind of risky. You can get the only downside, not even you can get. There might be a case you only getting the negative traits if you're super unlucky. Not even a single positive trait. It is kind of like a way to go, but I think you might get more benefit as a temple from Anahit than Armazd, but Armazd itself is pretty solid too. Basically, Armazd says, build me, I'm gonna help you with the public order a lot, but don't expect too much from me. I'm not gonna cause you trouble either. I'm not gonna get you a lot of great bonuses, only a couple small ones as we talked about here. One influence only is useful from me, and one influence from my priest, and my devotion is useful. But on the other side, Anahit says, I'm also gonna help you with the public order issues that you haven't, but there might be downsides of having me, because I have couple bad negative traits that can hurt you, but I also have a pretty good priest, pretty good followers and traits that you can get benefited from me more, so it's kind of risky. So that is for the public order purpose. And this Wahagan here, I wouldn't build the Wahagan in all of my settlements. What I would do, probably in 90-95% of my settlements, I would build either one of these two, depends on your choice. If risky, you want to risk Anahit, no risk Armazd. In 90% of my settlements, I will build one of these two. But in couple settlements, I would build Wahagan. Why? Because the way I play, if you've already following my Greek cities campaign, you're gonna see that, you're gonna notice that. What I do usually, I don't recruit from all of my settlements. What I do, let's say I have already couple settlements under my control. If I have like, let's say I'm gonna go to south from here, right? I am declaring in my mind the Kutay is my military center, and I don't build any economical buildings there. What I do, I build barracks, stables, practice ranges, I am upgrading them, or ports and shipwrights. And I build economical buildings in the rest of my settlements, which like 90-95% of my settlements, I'm building economical buildings, public order buildings, such as temples, markets, roads, basically the farms and stuff. So every basically front, like let's say I have one military settlement here, I have military settlement, one of them over here. So in every strategical position, I am declaring one military settlement for myself, like a operations center, let's put it in that way. And in that operations center, I'm already only building a military focused buildings. And in those kind of settlements, that makes sense for you to go ahead and build the Wahagan, because they are being my center of recruiting, retraining. So if Kutayis is my military center, I don't recruit anything from Atahata if it's not super necessary. Anyways, I'm only maybe being able to build a peasant over here, nothing else, but this guy have like higher tier like barracks and stables, so that's why that would make sense to have a Wahagan only in a settlements that you have military focused, like you see them as a kind of the military headquarter of the specific area, then Vahagan makes sense. But keep that in mind, Vahagan is not going to offer you a lot of public order bonus. If you have a military headquarter, let's say you decided to have which settlement, let's say if you decided to have, for example, Pergamum over here, you expanded until here and you decided Pergamum is gonna be your military headquarters for your anti-Greek cities, Macedon, Thracian operations. You're gonna pump armies from here and then deploy to the Greek peninsula. You have to be mindful that Pergamum is far enough from your capital and you might have public order issues if you build the Vahagan, because Vahagan doesn't offer you a lot of public order bonus. Then how you handle it, you just have bigger garrison than than the rest of your settlements. If let's say you have Anahit or Armazd in Halikarnassus over here, or in Sardis over here, and have only 1 or 2 peasants maintains your public order over 65%, over 70%, you might have maybe 4 or 5 peasants that gonna be required from you for doing the same in Pergamum. So that's the only downside. As I said, I wouldn't build in everywhere, but I would definitely build in a couple settlements where I will recruit and retrain. Even if I recruit from somewhere else, I can just bring them to that settlement and retrain them, and they all can have their military bonuses. So don't run away from it, but keep it limited. Don't build it everywhere, and you make your own choice between Anahit and Armazd, whichever works for you. You want to jump with the risky one, or you want to be safe, and that's up to you. So folks, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope it was any useful for you. If it was, and if you have any questions, or if you generally were satisfied, or in general, I would love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions on the comment section. Please take a second or two to basically mention your thoughts with me, and they are very valuable for me. Also, if you did enjoy from the video, if you did find it useful, please do like the video. If you like the content, you can subscribe and support me in that way. I do appreciate all those. I will go ahead and wrap it up for this week. Tomorrow I will be with you with another Greek cities campaign videos, and we're getting very close to the end as well. And next week we will talk about Pontus temples. And folks, I hope you have all a good day. Take care of you all, and I will be seeing you with the next videos, with the next episodes, and I will be seeing you soon.